And we are back on a Monday, 24th day of June, 2024. I am Dan Kuntz. This is Wake Up Wenatchee Valley. The first full week of summer is upon us. Hope you had a good weekend. It was a little nerve-wracking for those folks up the lower part of number 2 Canyon yesterday afternoon. We'll talk about the fire. The fire is contained. In fact, it's almost all but out at this point. But how we want to see this time of the year. We're not really even into fire season. We will have the news as we usually do. The weather is looking pretty good. It's going to be mild and dry today. It's going to be borderline hot tomorrow, and then we cool down, then we heat up, then we cool down, then we heat up. We're going to be riding that weather roller coaster all week long. The one thing we really need is rain, and there's not a raindrop to be had over the 7-day forecast period. Mariners are struggling on the road. They're on this road trip. Of course, they lost 2 of 3 to the Guardians. They lost 2 of 3 to the Marlins, including yesterday. They're in Tampa to take on the Rays over the next 3 days before they come home to take on Minnesota over the weekend. Speaking of baseball, we'll have baseball for you tonight. West Coast League Baseball, the Wenatchee Apple Sox and the Kelowna Falcons will do battle at Paul Thomas Senior Stadium. Eric with the call. We'll have it for you tonight at 6:30 right here on television, or as we like to say in the business, TV. And speaking of the Apple Sox, Joel Norman, the broadcasting voice of the Apple Sox, will be my guest in the back half of the program. Apple Sox are pretty good this year. They struggled over the weekend against Walla Walla. We'll see if they can right the ship a little bit. This is the time of the year where the Apple Sox really see a lot of fluctuation in the roster. All those guys on the 10-day contracts or 20-day contracts are now leaving, and the guys whose college baseball seasons have finally come to an end are coming up to the Wenatchee Valley. So we'll get her all settled with Joel in the back half of the program. It is 57 degrees, a few high clouds. Let's do our tour around the valley. Once again, the Wenatchee Heights camera begins our festivities as it always does. You can see the high clouds up towards the Lake Chelan area. Yes, the Columbia River is up there quite a bit. There is still some snow to be melted, and there's just a couple of little patches of snow still up on Mission Ridge. Now, we finally did hit 90 degrees. That was on Saturday, our first 90-degree day of the year so far. It took long enough to do it in late June before we finally hit to 90. Then we cooled down quite a bit. We only hit 77 on Sunday as that cold front came in, picked up the wind a little bit. We'll be jumping back up to the mid-80s anyway by the time this day is over. Sunrise this morning, 5:05. Sunset tonight, 9:02, 15 hours. And 57 minutes of daylight. Good morning to the valley. Good morning to the lower Butte. And we say good morning to Lake Chelan. As the sun reflects off the lake, the bathtub is full. The lake was busy this weekend. This is now the real busy time for Lake Chelan. A lot of people taking time off, taking their vacation. Kids are out of school. The lake is beckoning, and people will be hanging around the lake quite a bit. You can see the marina, the Three Fingers project that GBI Holdings is putting together. Goodfellow Brothers, and a big swath of the lake proper. Good morning to Lake Chelan. Good morning to the Columbia River from the Stamen Flats area. You can almost, well, you can make out Earthquake Point off into the distance, and a couple of little places there, little sections in and around the Aniad area. The Columbia River looks as smooth as glass, but of course, it's no longer a river. It's just a series of reservoirs behind dams. But that's the way it goes from our Smalls camera. And finally up to Bear Mountain. This is a gorgeous view of Lake Chelan. Look at that. There's a lot of real estate to be had there. Don't see a lot of haze from the Pioneer Fire, which is just still there, smoldering away. They're just making sure it doesn't get up and go out of control, but it is burning in very remote and rugged terrain about 30 miles up the lake from Lake Chelan. So it's a ways away from that view, but a gorgeous view of Lake Chelan this morning. We have the 8 to 14 day forecast for you from the Climate Prediction Center. These are the people who handle the long-term forecast, and they're pretty good at it. And we're hoping that this actually comes true as we throw this slide up, because it's saying we're going to have the forecast right now is leaning towards below average temperatures and above average precipitation. Now, granted, we don't usually get a lot of rain this time of the year, but we are bone dry. Since the first day of the year, we've had a little over 3 inches of rain, 3.04 inches of rain to be exact, since January 1st. Normally, we would have 4.27 inches of rain, so we are almost 1.25 inches below where we should be. That is a drought. We haven't had one of these kind of instances in a long time, but we do have above average chances of precipitation the first full week in July. So we could use the wet stuff. Whether it happens or not, we don't know, because our forecast is only going to take us through the next 7 days. And from the National Weather Service, here it is. Sunshine today. We'll bounce right back from that 77 right on up to 86. Very little wind. So it's going to be mild and dry. Then we go right back to hot again with lots of sunshine on Tuesday and a high of 92 degrees. Then the cycle repeats itself. We dip down on Wednesday. It's going to be a little breezy on Wednesday, but not quite as hot. High of 86. So 86 to 92, back down to 86, and then all the way down to 75 under breezy conditions on Thursday. Our normal high this time of the year is 80. So we're going to be below normal. It's going to be windy or breezy, depending on how you like to describe it. Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday night, Thursday and Thursday night. Then we calm down Friday, bounce back up to about 82 degrees, and then we're in for a very nice weekend, mixture of clouds and sun, but we'll call it mostly sunny. Very mild, very pleasant, highs in the mid-80s. So we're going to, as you can see by the afternoon high temperatures, we're going to be all over the place this week, and there is no rain at all in the forecast. That's what Mother Nature has in store for you. After a quick break, we'll do the news. You're watching Wake Up Wenatchee Valley on the NCW Life channel. The family at the Epladolin want to help your loved one feel at ease in their new home environment. Epladolin offers beautiful one-bedroom and studio apartments. Residents enjoy 3 delicious home-style meals a day, laundry service, housekeeping service, and encouragement to make themselves cozy in their new home. Epladolin welcomes your family to come and visit their family. Epladolin Independent and Assisted Living. They make the complicated easy for you. Call today for a tour.
Hi, my car's making a funny noise.
Not a problem. We'll take care of you.
Global Car Care's technicians are ASE Master Techs and well-versed in the more refined methods of vehicular diagnostics.
Number 3 piston and rings have a slight loss of compression, down to 108 pounds. Your transmission is slipping. You're gonna need a service.
Looks like you all set.
These guys? They're good.
Oh, and your spare is flat.
Global Car Care, Wenatchee's top shop.
When it comes to plumbing, you are likely not the expert. Call After Hours Plumbing. When your laundry room is just a little too tight and you need to expand or remodel, call After Hours Plumbing. Or your hot water heater needs replacing so everyone can have hot water? Call After Hours Plumbing, your local plumbing contractor ready for your home remodels or your commercial business.
Family roles change with time. You may find yourself being an unpaid caregiver to a loved one. Caregiving can be rewarding, but also stressful. Taking care of yourself is vital. Aging and Adult Care of Central Washington has low or no cost services for unpaid caregivers, such as in-home support, care supplies, and counseling. Connect in your local area by calling Aging and Adult Care at 800-572-4459 and mention you're interested in caregiver support. Few high clouds. It's 57 degrees. We'll be mid-80s today, lower 90s. On Tuesday, we cool down with some breeze, I'm afraid, on Wednesday and Thursday. Then we warm right back up again by the time we get to the weekend. It's 9 minutes after the hour. Residents in the lower part of Number 2 Canyon on the west side of the valley, they had a very nerve-wracking Sunday afternoon. As you might imagine, check that out, a wind-whipped fire breaking out. Quickly grew to about 30 acres before being contained after about 4 hours. The fire was first reported at about 4:30, quickly went to 3 alarms. Multiple agencies responded, including helicopters and airplanes. Level 3 evacuation notices were issued for residents closest to the proximity of the fire, but all evacuation orders were reduced to level 1 at about 7:40 yesterday evening. No injuries were reported, no structures were lost. Wenatchee Valley Fire Chief Brian Brett says the fire appears to have been ignited by a lawnmower. Crews remain on the scene this morning, performing mop-up duty and extinguishing hot spots. A 10-acre brush fire forced the shutdown of Highway 28. This happened near the Rock Island Dam on Friday afternoon. Fire agencies sent in to investigate the report of a fire. That was about 1:40 in the afternoon. They encountered smoke billowing across the highway and choking off visibility. The Washington State Patrol was asked to close the route at about 2 o'clock as the fire went to a second alarm shortly thereafter. The fire burned in sagebrush and grass. The cause not immediately known. No evacuation orders were issued there. A major new apartment complex could soon rise on South Wenatchee Avenue, what's now the site of small businesses and some disused storefronts. Widener Apartments wants to redevelop the area to create the 212-unit Majestic Apartments, and through an LLC, it already owns 2/3 of the block between Kittitas and Yakima Streets. The developers presented a streetscaping plan to the Wenatchee City Council on Thursday. Widener's development director, Nick Nortarski, said the project would include the renovation of the old Wenatchee City Jail, which operated from 1906 to 1924.
This is a neighborhood that's in transition. There's a couple projects that we specifically want to highlight. And so when we're thinking about what we're proposing on the streetscape, really you're already getting this critical mass of change. Let's take it, or we're proposing to take it even a step further. So the top left-hand corner is our Majestic apartment building. It's 212 units. We're currently in for building permits. As soon as permits are issued, we are ready to start construction. Any help we can get from the city on that, on timelines, would be appreciated. But it's a project that is really going to be a best-in-class project. It's a mid-rise building, structured parking. It's very, very unique to the downtown area. Over on the top right-hand side is the old Wenatchee Jail. So Widener owns the jailhouse and a couple of the retail spots adjacent to it. As part of that project, the jailhouse, we are going to keep the historic structure there and renovate it, and then put 2 additional retail buildings, one to the left, one to the right, and it'll be predominantly restaurant use with a very public plaza. A little bit about that project, renovating a historic structure. We're not seeking any tax credits. It's, in a lot of ways, it's a lot more cost effective just to tear something down and build new. That's not what we want to do. We want to do something that's going to maintain the character. It's something the former mayor had personally reached out to Mr. Widener about the importance of this building and how it can be, again, a showcase for this community.
Vietnam-era veterans in our area received a special commemorative pin on Thursday afternoon from Congresswoman Dr. Kim Schreier.
At the end of the first phase of construction,
'75. Douglas County crews are finishing up their work. They're pre-leveling and chip sealing a 4-mile stretch of Airport Road near Waterville, and now the real work begins. It starts tomorrow. In fact, tomorrow and Wednesday, crews will begin chip sealing a 2-mile stretch of South Waterville Road. That's just outside the city limits, goes towards Baseline Road. All work will take place during the day from 6 a.m. to 5 p.m., so crews will be using a pilot car to get traffic through the work zone. The county took to Facebook Friday to thank drivers in advance for their patience as they finish up the work to preserve local county roads. Speaking of public construction projects, the city of East Wenatchee approved a construction contract for the 19th Street Northwest to Northwest Cascade Improvement Project. They did that last week. The project includes sidewalk construction, stormwater upgrades, and roadway rebuilding. The city will work with Selling Construction on the project. It's estimated to cost about $6.2 million. Grants from the Washington Department of Ecology funded the design of the project, and Ecology awarded the city an additional $2.2 million for construction and design implementation. City documents say the project will be done in close coordination with Douglas County because the Cascade Avenue portion of the project is inside the Douglas County right-of-way. And the Wenatchee Public Library celebrated the complete renovation of their space after a decade after their capital campaign first began. Back in 2015, the Friends of the Wenatchee Valley launched the campaign that raised nearly $1.4 million and renovated the location in 2 phases. The first phase of the project, new interior and exterior paint, a centralized information desk, new lighting, new signage, new shelving. The second phase of the project ran from 2020 until earlier this month. That included a new teen space and public meeting rooms. We had a chance to speak with the library's supervising librarian and the NCW Library's facilities manager to learn about the second phase of the project.
At the end of the first phase of construction, there were still wish list items that had yet to be completed. So staff at that time had gone to the Department of Commerce, who has a library capital improvement program grant, and they were awarded just under $1 million for the second phase of the work, which included this teen space here, and then the work that we did to update the lower level of the spaces, including 3 new meeting rooms and kind of efficiencies to the staff area, and a gallery here for art and things.
One of the biggest asks from the community, and what we really focused a lot of our attention on, were the new meeting spaces that we have downstairs. We have each of those meeting rooms are flexible with their furniture. The tables can be moved in or out, the chairs. So they're really wonderful spaces for a variety of different community programs, activities, presentations, or classes that the public can participate in, or that the community in general can just use for their own needs. So that was one of the biggest asks, and the one that is most exciting. The teen space too was a big ask as well, making that a much more welcoming space for the age group that would like to use it.
The most important thing with our meeting rooms is that they are free. So there's a plethora of other meeting space options within the community, but we, I think, are the only space that does not charge for use. And then with the teen space too, the teens really influenced the materials and colors of the furniture and things that are in the space. They wanted, to my surprise, a really calming space that was kind of their escape from social media and other things kids face these days. The basement area was a little bit dark and cold, and there was not a lot of natural light, and a lot of square footage was dedicated to staff sorting operations and then break space as well. So we had an auditorium, as we call it, that was highly underutilized, and so what we did in phase 2 is really focused on bringing natural light to that space so that folks could enjoy using it a lot more, and then giving back more of that square footage to the general public as well. And then this space was just really underutilized. There was no shelving in the teen area, and there was some comfy furniture, but it just didn't really have a sense of purpose. So we gave it a little bit of new life.
Yeah, we wanted especially the downstairs space to feel more like the library users actually belong in the space, instead of feeling kind of nervous about being down there, with it being almost dungeon-like. Now when you walk down there, there's natural light, it's bright, it's open, and people are excited to be there. So that was really our goal, and I'm glad it came through.
To do this community engagement process, right, where we're actually going out into the communities and making sure we hit a certain percentage of the population, both of users and non-users, to kind of both see how they'd like to use the library and just educate them on all the things that the library does. So that's a huge element of the project. I would say the #1 goal.
And that is the news on this Monday. If you're interested in what the heck's going on around here, and we think you are, that's why we put together a newscast to begin with. We'll be gathering the news, disseminating the news, and then right at 5 o'clock on television, out comes the news. If you don't consume your news on television, a lot of you don't, that's cool. It'll be up and running, our newscast, our evening news, right around 5 o'clock on our homepage, ncwlife.com, our Facebook page, our YouTube page. We have X, we have Instagram, we have an app. It's right there. So download the QR code and you'll have the app on your smartphone as well. And if there's something out there that you think warrants our attention, send us an email, news@ncwlife.com. Not the best weekend for the Mariners or the Apple Sox. Sports is next. You're watching Wake Up Wenatchee Valley on the NCW Life channel.
The new Hummer EV is everything you want in an all-electric vehicle. It's powerful, reliable, comfortable, and will take you anywhere you want to go, on-road or off. Why buy one of those lesser EVs when you can have one that uses them for traction? Order your Hummer pickup or SUV today from Sangster Motors. Batteries included.
Caught in a conflict? Family? Workplace? Neighbor? Business? Housing disputes? Wenatchee Valley Dispute Resolution Center provides mediation services, a cost-effective and efficient way to provide a written resolution to disputes and issues. Plus, we offer mediation training and community education on conflict resolution and communication skills. Contact us to learn more.
Bring the whole family up to Stormy Mountain Brewing and local public house in historic downtown Chelan. Applewood smoked brisket, street-style tacos, and our award-winning barbecue rubs and sauces. Our meals pair perfectly with our exciting lineup of craft ales, made right here in Chelan. We've got room for big groups, or give us a call for catering. So grab the kids and check out the fun at Stormy Mountain Brewing and local public house located in the heart of Chelan.
When you call Dick's Heating and Air Conditioning, you're calling on 35 plus years of experience in the Wenatchee Valley. Spending extra time in your home, you may have discovered an unwanted aroma. Stinky feet, pets, who knows what. Call Dick's today about installing their Train Clean Effects electronic air cleaner or a Rheem Halo ultraviolet air purifier. Either way, the air quality in your home will be improved. Proudly servicing all of North Central Washington, call 884-6444 today.
22 minutes after the hour in sports, Nick Gordon hit a home run. Jesus Sanchez hit a home run. Unfortunately, they both play for the Miami Marlins. The Marlins beating the Mariners. The final was 6-4. On Sunday, Jazz Chisholm Jr. Now there's a baseball name. Jazz Chisholm, I like that. He had a couple of hits and an RBI for the Marlins, who clinch the three-game series against the AL West leading Mariners.
3-1 count here on Berger. Ground ball left side, and it sneaks through for a base hit. Seeing eye single for Jake Berger, and the Marlins take a 1-0 lead.
Well, nice at bat for Berger, and Miller having a hard time commanding his pitches here in the first inning.
Gordon, fly ball right field, hit deep and gone. A 3-run homer. Nick Gordon. What a start for the Marlins.
Well, you fall behind the Marlins, and they were very aggressive. That's only their 62nd home run as a team, but a big one here in the first inning. Get that split grip or that fork.
Jazz flips it back behind first, and it gets down. And flying home is Vidal Brujan. Bloop base hit with a rip.
Here comes the 0-1 pitch. And Sanchez swings, hits a high drive in the air, right center field. This thing just exploded off his bat into the seats. Second home run of the afternoon for the Marlins, and they've got a 6-0 lead.
Oh, baby. Get a splitter up in the zone and absolutely clobber this bad boy. 107.5 miles an hour off the bat, and it was a no-doubter.
This is into the corner and really tagged well, back and up to the second deck. Luke Raley, that is an opposite field home run in its truest form. Man, that was punished. Well, the Mariners get on the board.
So he gets a cutter right out over the plate on the outside corner and went with it. Exit velo of 104. And that's a big time opposite field home run for Luke, his 9th home run on the year.
Bliss has been swinging a hot bat. Ground ball and gobbled up. Low throw handled by Bell. Raley scores from third base. Does bring home a run. And 2 outs. Swing it away, first pitch. It's into center field for a base hit. Garver hits third base. He wheels around and scores standing. J.P. Crawford wasting no time with the Mariners.
To second base, and Otto Lopez seals it. It's a Marlins win.
Well, he had to stretch as far as he could stretch to make that play. Great drama here in the 9th inning with bases loaded. Tanner Scott escapes. Nice catch by Otto Lopez. The offense for the Marlins outstanding. 4 runs in that first inning. The fastball jammed Rodriguez. You thought it was going to get into right field.
That's a tie game if he doesn't come up.
Manager Scott Service noted that starter Bryce Miller fell behind in the counts, and that causes the Mariners to fall behind in the game.
Today, obviously, Bryce struggled early on. You know, they were on him there in the first inning, made a couple mistakes. The 3-run homer obviously is a big shot, and punch in the gut, I guess, is the best way to say it there in the first inning. He hung in there after that. I thought our bullpen was outstanding today, did exactly what they needed to do to give us a chance to get back into the game. Had a lot of good at-bats. When you're trying to make a comeback like that, you need to catch a few breaks. You need a few things to go your way, and that was just not the case tonight as we hit some balls right at him there, and certainly with Julio to end the game. Yeah, he's a young pitcher, and I think, figuring out, how you manage through his season. Obviously, the fastball hasn't had the same, hop on it, same kind of, just ride that we're so used to having with him, where there's a lot of swing and miss. The ball's popped up a lot. It just hasn't been happening here. It'll be there for an outing and not there for an outing. So, again, young pitcher. Certainly we lean on these guys so much to just keep us in the game. And today we were behind the 8-ball right out of the chute. But he'll get the ball here in 5 days when his turn comes up again. Just got to ride it out. These guys are going to make 32 starts in a year. They're all not going to be perfect, even though we get used to seeing them be so consistent. There's going to be a few bumps in the road. That happens. You got to bounce back from it, and he will. Mariners continue their Florida swing. They got 3 games starting today against Tampa Bay. It'll be Brian Wu taking on Taj Bradley. First pitch, 3:50 on Root Sports. From our friends at Les Schwab, the American League West scoreboard, the Mariners lead over the Astros in the AL West is now 6 games. The Astros beating the Orioles 8-1. They have a 6.5 game lead over the Rangers. Texas knocked off Kansas City 4-0. The Twins beat the Athletics 3-0, and the Angels didn't play. The Wenatchee Apple Sox salvaged the last game of their weekend series with the Walla Walla Sweets. Wenatchee erupting for 7 runs in the 7th inning. They pulled away 9-5. The voice of the Apple Sox, Joel Norman, has the details.
The Wenatchee Apple Sox trailed by a 4-2 score going into the bottom of the 7th inning, but they erupted for 7 runs to pick up a 9-5 victory against the Walla Walla Sweets on Sunday night at Paul Thomas Senior Stadium. Max Hartman delivered the big blow. He stepped up to the plate with 1 out and the bases loaded, and he delivered a 3-run RBI triple to put Wenatchee in the lead again for good. Roberto Gonzalez was a big effect on the Apple Sox in his first weekend with Wenatchee this summer. The third baseman reached base 3 times via base hits, also drew a walk and stole a bag while scoring 2 runs on Sunday night. The Apple Sox remain tied for first place with the Edmonton Riverhawks, and now Wenatchee welcomes in the Kelowna Falcons to town on Monday night at 6:35 p.m. at Paul Thomas Senior Stadium. With your Apple Sox update, I'm Joel Norman.
Thank you, Joel. Don't forget, Joel will be my guest in the back half of the program. We already mentioned Kelowna's in town for a 3-game series. We will have that game for you tonight right here on the NCAA Live channel with the pregame starting at 6:30. And as Joel already mentioned, we are now tied in the West Coast League. Here are your standings after the Apple Sox knock off the Sweets. Edmonton stayed right with us. They knocked off Kamloops 7-2. So Wenatchee and Edmonton are tied for first place in the West Coast League North. Bellingham just a game back, but they lost yesterday. Victoria beat them 6-2. By the way, Victoria is just 3 games back in the first half standings. Kelowna knocked off Port Angeles. It was Cowlitz over Yakima Valley. Corvallis got by Springfield. Ridgefield by a run over Bend. And Portland defeated Nanaimo. And those are just some of the games that people are playing at 29 minutes after the hour. Today we celebrate one of the great confections, one of the great culinary offerings that came from the South. Pralines. Pralines. Pretty simple to make. It is a southern confection. It's pecans, halves actually, half a pecan, sugar, corn syrup, butter, and milk. So it's probably not really good for you. There are variations on pralines depending on where you are at in the South. Where did pralines come from? They believe they were brought to New Orleans by the French by nuns in the early 18th century. Like 1710 or 1720. The recipe was taught to young girls because young girls needed the skills they needed to make pralines so they could find themselves a nice husband. That's actually true. I looked it up. Pralines. They are good. They are good. But the true good pralines are the ones that you find in the South. And they are good. Now, good for you, but they're good. It is 30 minutes after the hour. It's the bottom of the hour today in history. This is just one of the worst accidents. Well, it's just a tragedy. It was on this date in 1946. It was 78 years ago. 9 members of the Spokane Indians baseball team on their way to Bremerton are killed. Their bus was heading down Snoqualmie Pass. It had already gone over the summit. It was going down. A vehicle driving up Snoqualmie Pass on the wrong side of the roadway. So the bus driver swerved to avoid the car. The bus jumped a guardrail, plunged 350 feet down a ravine, and then burst into flames. Among those killed in this accident was Mel Cole, who may have been the best baseball player ever to come out of Wenatchee. He was both the catcher and the manager of the Spokane Indians. The driver of the vehicle that caused the crash was never identified. Jack Lorkey was the third baseman for the Spokane Indians. He fought in Normandy and the Battle of the Bulge. He was supposed to fly from Camp Kilmer in New Jersey to California, where he was supposed to be discharged from the Army. But at the last second, he was bumped from his flight by a colonel. That plane crashed with no survivors. And then Jack Lorkey on this bus, when the bus stopped in Ellensburg for the players to eat, he got a wire that said, "Jack Lorkey, you've been called up to San Diego." So he got off the bus and hitchhiked back to Spokane to fly to San Diego, and he avoided the bus crash. He became known from that point forward as Lucky Lorkey. Happened on this date 78 years ago today. 76 years ago today, the Soviet Union says, all overland travel between West Germany and West Berlin done. All land supplies blocked by the Soviets. Rail, roads, the canals, all blockaded by the Soviets, so the only way West Berlin could get the stuff that they needed to live, like food and fuel, was by air. And so began the airlift. American C-47 and C-54 transport airplanes flew over 92 million miles over the next few years, delivering everything that West Berlin needed. 92 million miles, that's the distance from the Earth to the sun. At the height of the airlift, one plane landed in West Berlin every 30 seconds. They tried to choke off West Berlin to take it over. It didn't work. It started on this date 76 years ago today. This is the 14th anniversary of the most amazing tennis match in history. Guess who won and guess who lost? On the left is John Isner of the United States. On the right, Nicolas Mahot of France. John Isner wins. The match took 11 hours, 5 minutes. It took 3 days to play the match. 6-4, 3-6, 6-7, 7-6, 70-68. 183 games, by far the longest match in tennis history, both by time and number of games. The final set alone was longer than any other match ever played. And by the way, this can't happen anymore because in the 5th set, they now have a tiebreaker because of this match. 11 hours, 5 minutes to play a tennis match. Nicholas doesn't look real happy, does he? And finally, this is the 2nd anniversary of the Dobbs decision. 2 years ago today, the Supreme Court of the United States rules that the U.S. Constitution does not assign the authority to regulate abortions to the federal government, and all the authority to regulate abortions is returned to the individual states. After 50 years, Roe v. Wade is overturned. And birthdays. Jack Dempsey, the great American boxer, considered alongside Babe Ruth probably the most popular athlete of his time. He was a heavyweight champion in the 20s and the early 30s, specifically 1919 and 1926. He fought into the early 30s. And unlike many boxers of his time, both before and after, he held on to his money. He made millions. He kept it. He invested it. And he would then give his money away to former heavyweight champions who squandered their fortunes either from their own bad luck or from people just stealing from them. The legendary Jack Dempsey, born in the state in 1895. Happy 77th to Mick Fleetwood, one half of the namesake of Fleetwood Mac. He, of course, and John McVie are the only 2 members of Fleetwood Mac from the very beginning. Fleetwood Mac is now officially done. McFleetwood is 77. We miss Jeff Beck. Would have been 80 years old today, considered the guitarist. He could play anything and play it better than anybody. He's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as a member of the Yardbirds. And as a solo artist, we lost Jeff Beck a couple of years ago. Happy birthday to Mindy Kaling. The Office, The Mindy Project, Never Have I Known, very funny, great writer. She is 45 years old today, and a lot of people consider this guy the best living soccer player right now, Lionel Messi. Lionel Messi is 37 years old today, and who's kidding who? He is real good. Special thanks to our platinum sponsor, that would be Alpine Air. For heat and air, call Alpine Air. How did your air conditioner do over the weekend? I got a couple of buddies, theirs broke down. They better be calling Alpine Air to get that sucker fixed before it heats back up again. For heat and air, call Alpine Air. Special thanks to Pool to Spa Services on Worthen Street in Wenatchee, right across the street from the Pybus Public Market, right down the road anyway. And special thanks to our friends at Prestige Senior Living at Colonial Vista, the main campus in Wenatchee and their satellite campus in East Wenatchee. Mike McNally's got an opinion about what I don't know. And then we're talking baseball with Joel Norman, the voice of the Apple Sox. Kelowna's in town for a 3-game set. Joel will join me when we come back. You're watching Wake Up Wenatchee Valley on the NCW Live channel.
Celebrate this great country of ours at Rockfest in Rock Island, June 29th. 4 rockin' bands start at 1 o'clock on the stage at the golf course until the fireworks begin. So bring your chairs, pack a picnic, or enjoy one of the many on-site food vendors. Link will be offering a free shuttle to the golf course from downtown Rock Island. Rockfest, the last Saturday in June. Find them on Facebook. And thanks to Rockfest 2024 supporters John Port at Real Homes and the Town Toyota Center.
A ductless unit from Carrier can keep anyone comfortable. Take Shelly, for instance. She finds me time in her new attic-turned-home gym. And with her Carrier ductless unit, the temperature is always perfect. No matter how intense her workout gets. Carrier. Total comfort, totally happy.
Turn to the experts, Carrier and Alpine Air. Heat and air, call Alpine Air.
Mount Stewart Physical Therapy is all new. New staff, new therapists, and a fabulous new chiropractor. That's right, you do not need to drive to Wenatchee or Kashmir for your care. Come see Dr. Zolman, DC. No referral needed for most insurances. Open your auto and work injury claims with us, or fax your post-op and Medicare therapy prescriptions to us right here in town. We offer covered pelvic floor services. We are premium health care for the Upper Valley. Improve your quality of life today. Mount Stewart Integrative Therapy and Chiropractic.
The Lake Chelan Chamber of Commerce presents Wonders of Wooden Avenue.
Culinary Apple is North Central Washington's premier kitchen store with everything you need to elevate your own culinary experience.
For the most unique wine tasting experience in the Chelan Valley, visit One Wines. Popular for being the smallest and most intimate facility in the valley, it features one red, one white, and one rosé. Complex wines, simple elegance.
Wonders of Wooden Avenue, North Central Washington's premier shopping district.
Ooh, hey, this is Mike Mad Dog Magnani, and everybody is entitled to my opinion. Now, Henry Kissinger, Richard Nixon's Secretary of State, once said that power is the greatest aphrodisiac. I see his point. There's no doubt that people are often attracted to and seduced by those in power, but power works another way as well. And those who have power, it makes those with power feel that they can act any way they want. We've seen it over and over again recently with those men high up in the entertainment industry who have used their power to sexually assault women. I'm gratified to see that these abused women are coming forward, being believed, and that their abusers are being held accountable. Because it's about time us men, powerful or otherwise, treated women with the respect and decency they deserve. This is Mike Mad Dog Magnati, and that's my opinion.
Now there are even more reasons to meet at the Pybus Market. Outdoor dining and tastings, the fabulous Farmers Market, Saturday artisans on the concourse, and your favorites all week long. No matter the reason, it's always time to meet at the Pybus Market. Pybus Market, where community meets.
Let nothing stand between you and the tree stand with this great offer on the fast, durable Kubota Sidekick. Featuring a gas-powered engine that delivers a top speed of 40 miles per hour, outstanding acceleration and handling with cargo, and a 2-year, 1,000-hour warranty. Get the Sidekick now for 0 down, 0% APR for 36 months or save $1,000.
Welcome back to Wake Up Wenatchee Valley. Normally when we visit with Joel Norman, we're at Paul Thomas Senior Stadium on the campus of Wenatchee Valley College, because hell, who doesn't want to hang around the ball field? But time constraints means that we've decided to bring Joel to our studio. We are halfway through the longest homestand of the year. 6 games with Walla Walla over the weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. The Kelowna Falcons coming to town. So Kelowna is in our division, the West Coast North Division. I know it sounds funny when the West Coast North Division, and we're not in the same division as Walla Walla. Yeah. So, Joel, it's important if we want to win the first half, and we want to win the first half, to win the games against your divisional opponents, and that is that's going to happen tonight. After taking on Yakima Valley and Walla Walla, not in our division, but they still count. But now we're back in division play, and we need to win these games.
Oh, it's nice to be back in, 6 straight games against teams outside the division. You see your division opponents at times. It is nice to see the other teams a little bit, but you're exactly right. This is a crucial series for the Apple Sox. You look ahead, including this series and the next one, there's only 6 games remaining in the first half, the first 27 games of the season, and I think the Apple Sox have put themselves in a really good spot to potentially win the North Division in the first half, but it comes down to taking care of business this week. You want to win this series against Kelowna and then go to Bellingham, obviously intending to win that series, but maybe not needing to. But we're going to have to see how things shape out. You win 2 or 3 games here at home, it certainly makes things a little bit easier, but either way, we're expecting a battle pretty much to the finish of this first half, and I think that the league owners knew what they were doing, putting Wenatchee and Bellingham to wrap up the first half against each other.
Bellingham has been red hot. Of course, we've been playing some really good baseball, too. Who's kidding who? But Bellingham, 6, 7 in a row, something like that? They're right there, right behind us.
Absolutely. A couple of big sweeps heading into this past weekend. They've hit their groove, and they're right there with the Apple Sox, and we expected that. Wenatchee took 2 or 3 from Bellingham a couple weeks ago at Paul Thomas, but every year Bellingham is going to find a way to get in the playoff mix, and we're anticipating that to be a gigantic series. But as Mitch Darlington always says, you can't look ahead too much. You start doing that, you lose track of your opponent, and you don't take them as seriously. So focus on Kelowna first, but ready to go when it comes time to travel to Joe Martin Field for what should be a huge weekend of baseball coming up this week.
Yeah, it should be pointed out, we did take 2 or 3 from Bellingham here in Wenatchee, but they were 3 very closely contested, well-played, solid baseball games.
Yeah, that first game, it got out of hand a little bit later, a 6-1 final, but it was a lot closer than the score indicated. Next day, the Apple Sox bounced back, the 2-0 shutout, and then, of course, the walk-off win on that Thursday. I mean, that's what you expect. Wenatchee and Bellingham have been playing against each other since 2000, and you expect every year these teams are going to be competing, and it's going to feel like a playoff game a lot of times when they play. And I always pretty much say on the broadcast that it feels like there's 2 givens, or 3 givens, I would say, in the North Division. It's that Bellingham, Victoria, and Wenatchee are always going to be in the playoff picture, especially since they've expanded the last couple of years to the 4 playoff spots.
How's the team doing fatigue-wise when this series is over on Wednesday? That's 16 games in 16 days. Even if you're 19, 20 years old, that's still a lot of baseball in a row. Are they still hanging in health-wise and fatigue-wise, or they just can't wait to just sleep all day Thursday?
I think a lot of guys are circling Thursday on the calendar because it's only the second off day of the month. But I also think there's a lot of guys who are so fired up to get to the park. And I noticed it last week when we were in Yakima. It was a couple of hot days, that Wednesday and Thursday. And that getaway day that Thursday, the guys' energy was still high getting to the park. And even after a tough loss, getting back, I mean, that's a short drive, so it probably helps. But these guys were up and talking the whole way. I think this group has come together so well. And we are going to lose some guys here this week. Cade Benavidez is finished. He's just shutting it down after this series against Kelowna.
And he's been really good. He's been a fan favorite, scoring a lot of runs, a lot of hits. He's a lot of RBIs. We're going to miss his bat.
We are. You know, and the hope is that some of these guys who come in already and who are coming in during this homestand can kind of pick up that void. Roberto Gonzalez came in this past weekend from Cal State Northridge, guy who the coaching staff is really excited about. Getting a couple of other middle infielders, James Castagnola from UC Irvine. I mean, when we mention UC Irvine, the Apple Sox fans should already have high expectations. Joichiro Oyama in 2022, Frankie Carney last year, two guys who hit over 330 and were with the team all summer. We're expecting Castagnola to be the next wave of those UC Irvine middle infielders to make a difference. But when guys come, it's up to the guys to replace them, to pick up where they left off. And sometimes we can see that guys who got off to a great start but maybe cooled off, maybe them departing is not just good for them but good for the team in a way, because again, it's been a long summer. They've done their part, played a lot in the spring as well, and that's going to happen. Like Elijah Palaio, he's finished up after this month, and this is a guy, he played in every single game this spring at Cal State Bakersfield. He's played in every single game for the Apple Sox. He's due a break, and we're not at all upset about that, and we want him to get that because we want him to go back and have a great senior year. But again, that's like I said, when there's opportunity that comes up when these guys leave and other guys come in, and I'm really looking forward to some of these new faces who are just getting into town right now and kind of making their mark on this team early on.
You mentioned the players that they're shutting it down just to take a break, or they're going to head back to school, or just because they need a break. You mentioned Cade Benavidez and the importance of their bats being replaced by fresh bats. And how does that affect the team defensively? Does Mitch still need guys who can play multiple positions like Cade Benavidez? We saw him play first. We saw him play third. How does that affect the team from a defensive standpoint with guys coming out and guys coming in?
Well, I mean, we'd be remiss if we didn't mention he also has pitched a little bit too.
Yeah,
that's
right.
a super utility player, but that's a guy you'd love to have. And we've seen Cannon Peary, who came in a couple weeks ago now. He's played a little bit of first and third, primarily at first base, and has kind of settled in as the cleanup hitter, which has been a really nice addition to this team. He's a guy you never know. You might see him at third. Some of these newcomers, though, like I mentioned, Gonzalez, Castagnola, Jake Larson will get in from University of Minnesota. I think we're going to see some of those guys filling that void between second, shortstop, and third base. So far this season, if you've been following, it's pretty much been almost every night. Antonio Gianni at second, Elijah Palaio at short, and then Cade Benavidez at third. By about July 15th, all three of them will be gone. And we're going to start to see other guys come in. And this is that part where I feel for the fan. I feel for the part where you get attached to these guys. You're used to hearing them every night. You know when their walk-up song comes on, they're coming up to hit. But it's the nature of the beast. With it being everyday baseball and these guys being between 18 to 22 years old, it's a lot for them. So that's why they have the schedules that they do, and that's why I always encourage people, welcome these new guys in, because they're going to become fan favorites really quickly, and they're going to be playing in some big ball games. And we talked about just how important this week is, Dan. I think the fun thing about this week is that there's going to be guys coming and there's going to be guys going. So you lose some of these guys who are playing so well, but maybe you're getting a little fatigued. You bring in new guys who it's their first few games of the summer. They're fired up. They're ready to go, and they're smacking their hands together after that RBI double. It might be the right infusion that this team needs at a point where otherwise they could be getting a little fatigued as a whole.
I loathe to single out individual players. I'm going to change that right now. Max Hartman has become, to me, the spark plug of this team. The Cougar player who is just the crowd. The crowd loves him, and why not? He does everything well.
I think Max Hartman is just such a fun player to watch. He's been one of my favorites with just his ability to find ways to get on base, just how he approaches every at-bat. This is a guy who he'll drop down a drag bunt single to drive in a run or just to reach when he feels the infield is back, or he'll hit one in the gap in right center and maybe think about going three but head back to second. He does it all. And it's been so fun, and we've been so blessed to have him and Aiden Doherty atop this lineup. I don't know if fans understand just how much talent there is with those two players alone. Doherty was the NWAC MVP this past spring. He's heading to play at UConn, NWAC champion, NWAC tournament MVP. I can keep going. Batting champion this spring, like really talented players, and he's hitting ahead of Hartman, a guy who batted leadoff pretty much all spring at a Division I school in Washington State. That says so much about those two players. They're both there atop the lineup, playing every single day, and just really, really having a lot of great energy for the Apple Sox. Hartman is a guy who being a guy going into his junior year, has kind of become a leader on this team. He's in that opportunity where he's been at Division I school. He's had success there. He's played in this league before. He's a guy a lot of guys are looking up to. And Doherty's, about the same age as him, but it's kind of someone you can see the way he acts around Hartman, saying, okay, this is how a Division I ball player goes about his business. And there's a lot of types of leadership in the summer. Sometimes it's just by being a D1 ball player, acting like a pro, and being a good teammate. Other times it's being that vocal guy, saying, let's be ready to go. That wasn't a good inning of approaches at the plate. Let's be better this one. And I mean, our coaching staff has been thrilled with what Max Hartman has brought to this summer's team.
And all of these players are feeding into the Mitch Darlington system. Mitch is a believer that you want the other team to make more mistakes than 100%. You do. Make the pressure, put the pressure on them, steal bases, hit and run, squeeze plays. This is the way Mitch Darlington likes to play his baseball. Always keep the opponent on their toes and not knowing what's going to happen.
Absolutely.
And these guys do this. The whole team does this with a plum.
Absolutely. Our players feed into that. I think the fans feed off of it, watching that type of baseball. There was a play on Thursday when we were on the road at Yakima Valley. Bases loaded, 8th inning. At the time, we're down by 3 runs to Yakima Valley, trying to rally back. Ground ball hit to the right side. It's deep in the hole, kind of between first and second. Second baseman keeps on the infield, throws it to first, but it's late. Runner gets over there, RBI single, because the runner from third comes home, but Cannon Peary comes all the way home from second.
Yep.
That's just such a smart baseball play, both by him and by Mitch Darlington coaching on that third base side, because I don't know how many fans even consider that, but with 2 outs in the inning, you have nothing to lose to keep running. Now, once Yakima realizes he's going home, it's a foot race to get the ball home, but Peary never stopped running. If he hesitates at all, he's probably out at home, but he beats the throw sliding in, and all of a sudden, an infield single is a 2-run RBI single. And that's just the kind of ball that Mitch Darlington has his guys play. I always say that, the Apple Sox are going to have some nights where they're going to steal some bags. But more often than not, what they're going to do is they're going to take every extra base when it is there. That's more than just stealing bases. That's tagging up on deep fly balls. That's testing outfielders when you're not sure if he can throw it home from right field or left, and trying to find ways to get those extra 90 feet. That's what wins in this league. That's what Corvallis has done. It's their ability to run the bases well and steal them well.
Let's give the pitching staff a little bit of love, because we got some arms, both left and right, that throw strikes, eat up innings, and win games. Give some of the guys on the rubber some love.
I mean, we got to talk about Evan Canfield, right?
Yeah.
I mean, 2 weeks ago was the West Coast League Pitcher of the Week. We didn't even get a chance to chat about it last week, but he's been phenomenal. I mean, this is a guy who his legacy with the Apple Sox is already, in a lot of ways, sealed in. He is eventually going to become our all-time leader in strikeouts. But the funny thing is, he and Quincy Vassar often, they joke about this a lot, because Vassar's out of eligibility in the summer after this year. So he jokes, well, I'll break the record, and then Canfield's probably going to get me shortly afterward. And then Canfield has already said, I'd love to be back next summer. So if he comes back next summer, it's as good as a pretty sure bet that he'll break that record and hold it. So it's so funny, because he and Vassar have such a neat interest and awareness of Apple Sox history. And I think as multi-year players on this team, they recognize the effect it's had, and they also realize that maybe this is their legacy as baseball players. That's not to knock what they've done at the spring level, but I think they realize that when you continually return to a summer ball program, a place you're choosing to be, that it means a little bit more than just summer ball, and that is, it's not going to affect a lot of stuff with your school team, but it's something that means a little more to them. Obviously, Vassar, because he's from here. He's from Brewster, so it means a ton to him every time he toes the bump at Paul Thomas Senior Stadium. But I think for Canfield, Wenatchee has kind of become a second home. It's a guy from Bothell. 2 of his first 3 years of college baseball, he hasn't pitched. So in a lot of ways, his time with the Apple Sox is his baseball career at its peak right now. And obviously, he's hoping to change that. He's going to head to Lewis and Clark State College this fall, but it's fun to see when guys embrace the effect that they can have. Both with fans, both of those guys are great in the community, but also the effect they have with fans at the park when they watch them every time they toe
and
the rubber.
the teammates want to score for him. They like him.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I think this first game was like a 2-1 victory, and then we had a 3-2 victory. It's like, give this guy some runs. Let him have a blowout a couple of times, just so they can chill.
Yeah, the home opener at Victoria, he was brilliant. 5 innings, 9 punch-outs, and it's just like, let's get some runs for the guy. And eventually we did an extras, but the next one was that 2-1 thriller at Kamloops. It's just, Canfield has been so fun to watch pitch. We were so used to him the last 2 years primarily as a reliever. He's moved into that starting pitching role, and he's earned every start he's gotten for sure.
So again, Kelowna in town today, tomorrow, and Wednesday. They finally get a day off Thursday. Then it's on the road. We're closing in on a couple of big promotions, specifically fireworks night. And I want to mention this because you can buy tickets in advance. And you want to do it for fireworks night.
Oh,
because
no doubt about it.
there's not going to be a seat to be had. And you might be playing a fool's errand by walking. We'll get you in the ballpark, but if you want good seats, get them in advance for the big blowout with the fireworks and everything.
100%. I always say, July 3rd is fireworks night, 7:05, first pitch against Victoria. Get your tickets in advance and get to the park early. Especially if you're buying general admission seats, because as you know, those bleachers fill up really quickly. People like to sit down the lines as well. You want to get a good spot, because if you're too close to the dugouts, you don't see as much of the field of play. So get your tickets online. Do it right now at applesox.com/schedule, and then go ahead and get to the park early. That game against Victoria, gates will open at 6, and I really encourage people to get there as early as possible. And can we talk about how fun that series is going to be to open the second half?
Yep.
Victoria here on a fireworks night. I talk about it with people up there, and Bellingham is just, when those three teams play each other, it doesn't matter what month it is. It feels like a playoff game. And I think fans have really started to pick up on that. When Bellingham was here 2 weeks ago, we had great crowds every night. And not just great crowds, but just engaged crowds. They knew this was a big game. They knew we've got to win a series against Bellingham if we want to win the first half. And I think it's going to be so fun to open the second half against Victoria, because one way or another, one of us is not going to have won the first half. Maybe both of us won't have. And we'll be looking at that as, okay, time to reset and focus on how we win the second half.
When we did the game, the Tuesday night game, it was like, there's a lot of people here. Yeah. People are on board. They love to follow a winner. One other note, and Joel did mention this, I'll mention this. If you buy your tickets at the gate, you got to get in 2 lines. You got to get one line to buy your ticket, then the other line to get your ticket in. If you buy your ticket in advance, it's just one line.
It is.
You're in, you're through, you're watching baseball, you're good to go. Go Sox. We'll see you tonight. We'll be at the ballpark.
That's right.
We'll be broadcasting the game. So I'm looking forward to that. Eric is back, but Brandon Schmitten is not. So Eric's going to call it all by himself. Maybe
just like the old days when they did the Apple Sox games. That's right.
And let me tell you something. Calling a baseball game by yourself, as Joe will be the first one to tell you, ain't such an easy thing to do. It just isn't, especially if you're into like a 12-1 game in the 4th inning and you start spitting out chili recipes.
Sounds a little similar to last week.
Yeah, it does. Storm and Joel Norman, the broadcasting voice of the Wenatchee Apple Sox. I guess maybe I'll see you next week then.
We'll see you here pretty soon. We'll see you tonight at the park.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean for the next visit for this, for this award-winning show, of course. And we will be right back.
Hey, welcome back to Save Mart. What can we help you find today?
We're looking for a mattress.
Oh, right this way. We got a large selection. We have this pillow top here.
Oh, comfortable.
We have more to choose from down here.
Oh.
I think I have the perfect one over here for you.
I guess we'll take this one.
You'll find it at Save Mart. Full service at a low, low price.
Have you noticed how expensive it is this summer to feed a family at most restaurants? Even a burger basket for 6 people can run you $60. But at Abby's, you can still feed a family of 4 to 6 for less than $26. Real value. That's one more reason we're legendary. We know what Abby's customers like on their pizza. Meat. Lots of meat. That's why this month, we're piling on the classic pepperoni, Canadian bacon, and beef. Abby's Triple Topper has the meat you love, and right now, it's on sale. Order your Triple Topper at abbys.com.
When you've been in business for 40 years, it's because you understand change and you put members first, always. Now Works is announcing a change in their membership model. Up to 6 people on one membership that you can mix and match. The more people, the bigger the discounts. Introducing the Works shared membership model. One membership, friends and family and flexibility. Works, the cleanest, friendliest, most helpful gyms you and your friends will ever join.
Time to come full circle. We always begin the show with the weather forecast, and we'll close out the show with the weather forecast, because the weather is the one thing that kind of affects everybody. Sunshine today, 86. That comes after our high yesterday of 77, so we're going to bump back up again. Then we get hot again Sunday or tomorrow. Lots of sunshine, high of 92. That'll only be the second time this year we've gotten into the 90s. We hit 90 on Saturday, and then we cool back down again. Things will start changing a little bit on Wednesday. The temperature is still going to be warm. It's going to be a little bit cooler, but now we're talking about wind. again. Yeah, sorry about that, folks. A little windy on Wednesday with a high of 86. Breezy Wednesday night, 58 for the overnight low. It's going to be breezy on Thursday with a high of only 75. Keep in mind our normal high is 80. Not going to get there. Clear tonight, 54 for the overnight low. Then we warm back up again. 82 on Friday, and a mixture of clouds and sun for the upcoming weekend. Saturday, partly sunny. Well, we'll say mostly sunny with a high of 85 and a high of 83 on Sunday. Could use some rain. We're not going to get any. That's it for us. Have a great Monday. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.